Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Daniel Smith, and this video is entitled "Why Spin Kicks Should Never Be Used Against a Skilled Opponent," in like not even in sport fighting, much less self-defense. I don't remember exactly when this was, but it was about a year or so ago. I found a video on YouTube of two brown belts who were sparring close to full contact, and they never used roundhouse kicks or spin kicks. And so I watched the whole video, and I think it was the first or second comment in the video was somebody asking why they didn't use spin kicks, and like Jean Claude Van Damme or Chuck Norris or something. And one of them that had posted the video laughed at him and told him that they don't work. And he's like, "Well, why do they do it on such and such?" And I saw it, and I wrote to him, and I said, I'm able to win a 1 versus 2 handicap against 2 second-degree black belts, and I can tell you spin kicks do not work. I said that is Hollywood nonsense. I said straight kicks, like what they're doing in this video that you're watching, are what really works. Straight punches and straight kicks are what really works. Hook punches, the bad hook punch of boxing definitely does not work in a real fight. A good hook punch is only a couple inches wide of your opponent's standing guard. You don't, this looping outside hook punch that some professional boxers do is not a good punch. That is bullshit. That is way too easy to block or slip or dodge or parry or whatever you want to do with it. All right, or just box out. That is complete bullshit. A good hook punch goes no wider than the bare minimum that's needed to beat your opponent's standing guard. Same principle as a kick. You should not be throwing roundhouse kicks hardly ever unless you're attacking your opponent's leg with the roundhouse kick. A high roundhouse kick is useless. You're setting yourself up for being put in a figure 4 ankle lock if you throw a high roundhouse kick at somebody, especially in MMA. And by the way, MMA fighters are not mixed martial artists. All right. Most of them have between a purple and a first-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu, in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, not even Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which doesn't even teach everything in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, by the way. It's a degenerate form of fighting that only works on the ground. And they have virtually no experience, and I know this because I've been a member of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu dojo for a year and a half. They have virtually no skill or experience in teaching you how to throw punches and kicks. And I know that because I was a member of an Okinawan karate dojo for about 6 years and some odd months, and was a black belt candidate in Okinawan karate. And I can punch 2 or 3 times harder than professional MMA fighters. And I can kick 2 or 3 times harder. And I know because I've tested it on a force meter versus what they tested on a force meter. I can literally punch 2.5 times harder than John Jones, and they think he's a good puncher. I can probably kick 3 times harder than him, and they think he's a good kicker, and he's not. The only one on there that punches at about the right strength that he's supposed to for his weight class is Conor McGregor. The only one. The rest of them are bad strikers. I mean, I don't consider anybody else on there to be an A+ striker anymore, especially when they show that they don't know how to fight against striking. So they don't know how to throw punches, and they don't know how to fight against somebody that does know how to throw punches. They drop their guard and get knocked out by a roundhouse kick. I have been sparring for almost 6.5 years full contact whenever I was their age, 20 years old. All right. I had been sparring for nearly 6.5 years full contact, as close to no rules. Fewer rules than the MMA fighters fight in the fight, by the way. Full contact, and nobody has ever hit me in the head with a kick. And they've hardly ever hit me in the face with a punch. But nobody has ever managed to hit me in the head with a kick, ever. So if you get hit in the head with a kick, it means you dropped your standing guard. That's all it means. It means it's not that the opponent did anything right. It means you're incompetent. I had to explain that to those Kyokushin black belts one time about 12 years ago. I was watching the Kyokushin World Championship, and I told them, I said, watch this. I said, the champion is doing all these high-risk maneuvers that don't work in real fights. And I said, this other guy on the other leg of the tournament, is just sticking to basics and he's winning all his fights. I said, I bet you he beats the champion when he gets to the final round. And we watched the entire tournament for 2 days. And on the second day, I was still explaining to them that the guy that sticks to basics is going to beat the guy doing high risk maneuvers literally 99 out of 100 times. And eventually, there was a Muay Thai world champion that came on there and agreed with me. He said, I got 31 knockouts at the time he had, and I'm the world champion in my weight class in Muay Thai kickboxing. And he said, I've only ever knocked somebody out one time with a head kick, and all of my other knockouts came from punches and elbow strikes. He said that you should almost never land a kick on your opponent's head, no matter how good you think you are. That if they actually know what they're doing, you're not going to land a kick on their head. If you've ever been kicked in the head, it is your own fault, because a head kick has to go at least 45 degrees above horizontal. And for every degree you go above horizontal, you lose about 1% or so of your force. Actually, about 1.1% of your force. So by the time your kick gets to 45 degrees, you've lost half of your force to head height. And if your opponent is taller than you, by the time your foot gets to head height, you've lost about 90% of your force. So you're completely wasting energy, and you're putting yourself off balance by throwing a head kick, much less a spinning head kick. So they got this teaching video on YouTube, how to throw a 540 spin kick, which if I'm doing the math right, that ends up being a spinning back kick, a double spinning back kick. For some reason, they think that you need to spin 1.5 times in the air to throw a spinning back kick instead of half a time in the air. If you're putting enough force into your spinning motion, then where is the force of your kicking motion? First of all. Secondly, spin kicks do not hit any harder than straight kicks. Thirdly, spin kicks are automatically slower and more circuitous than straight kicks by definition. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So automatically a spin kick is ill-conceived. You shouldn't be trying to hit your opponent in front of you with a back kick anyway. That's completely against body mechanics. If you are, and you somehow do hit them, the only thing it means is they're incompetent. Because to hit him over here with a back kick means I have to, at some point, turn my back to him, don't I? I should get punched in the back of the head if I do that. A back kick is a desperation move that you should practice anyway. In case you're ever outnumbered 2 or 3 to 1, you may as well know how to throw a back kick. But in terms of fighting on equal terms, another professional fighter, it's impossible to land a back kick on a brown or black belt level fighter that really deserves a brown or black belt in a one-on-one. You're not going to do it. I don't care if you're twice as good as the guy in front of you. He's not a brain dead fool. He's going to block it or just step out of the way. And that's on like a back angle kick or a one-step standing back kick, which, by the way, the basic back kick hits harder than a spinning back kick. The spinning motion in a spinning back kick wastes all of the power. And if you're jump spinning back kick, you don't have anything to brace against. When you do a regular back kick, your foot that's on the ground braces against the ground and you're pushing off the ground, and you hit harder with a regular back kick than you do with a spinning or jump spinning back kick. Same goes for a spinning roundhouse front kick. If you kick off the ground, you hit harder than if you kick jumping in the air. That's a law of inertia. So all of this nonsense, like Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport doing this spin kick when he was supposedly blinded, by the way, which is all complete nonsense. I mean, you damn near, if you really thought about it, everybody should have turned the movie off at that moment and never watched it again. But if you've ever seen Bloodsport, where Jean-Claude Van Damme cuts this butterfly kick and hits Chong Li about 3 or 4 times in the face to finish him off, and that is complete bullshit. I mean, come on. He could try that on me right now, or even in his prime, and he would never land it on me. He would never land that on me. much less if I was in my prime. He would never land that on me. And he knows that too because he was a French national champion kickboxer at one time. And I'm sure he didn't do it by throwing butterfly kicks and spinning back kicks at his opponent. He did it by throwing straight kicks and straight punches. Because that's what really works. Because this vertical fist punch goes right through a standing guard, whereas this boxer's twist punch can be blocked way easier by a standing guard. That's why professional points fighters and professional full-time contact karate fighters throw vertical fist punches now. It's called the China punch or the Isshinryu karate punch. All right. The vertical fist punch actually goes straight through most people's standing guard. They can't see it coming, and it slips right because your standing guard is a fist and a half wide. Wonder of wonders, because and you can try to block it, but by the time you block it, it's done hit you. At least if you're not used to blocking it, I'm used to blocking it because, like I said, I've sparred against it for a little over 6 years. But I showed a guy that was training in Muay Thai. He had a black belt in Gracie Jiu Jitsu, and I didn't even throw a full speed punch at him, and I showed him that I could hit him before he even knew I had moved. And he was starting to train Muay Thai, and I met him about 6 or 7 months ago, and he was working on a bag out in his front yard, starting to self train in Muay Thai as he was joining the Muay Thai dojo. And I'm medically disabled, and I could still kick. I got numbness, 50% numbness in both feet, and they can prove it medically with a EMG machine and in my left hand. All right, and they know I'm not faking it. And my right cross is still about twice as hard as his right cross, and he was a natural 225 pounder without an extra ounce of body fat on him. And I could still right cross his hanging bag so hard that he was like, my God, if you see like my God, he was half my age. He was like, my God, don't worry about your age. If you ever hit somebody that hard, it'll fuck them up. Was his words exactly. I said, that's the point. Because he had been in jiu-jitsu, in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They almost never practice striking. And even when they think they're practicing striking, they're not practicing good striking. And he had never seen somebody throw a punch that hard in person. And I was 24 years out of practice. He was like, my God, don't worry about your age. If you ever punch somebody that hard, you'll fuck them up. I said, that's exactly the point. Exactly the point. And then when he saw how hard I could kick the bag, which having numb feet actually helps with that because then you don't even hurt your foot when you hit the bag that hard. You hit the bag so hard that it just flies as far as the rope will let it fly. But Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, they have no clue. MMA fighters have no clue how to throw a real strike. Most of them. I say Conor McGregor is an exception. But that's not striking. If you can punch somebody in the chin and they just like are still looking at you like they never even got hit, you didn't punch them hard enough. Because if you ever watch bare knuckle fighting, the people on there, some of them actually know how to throw a punch. And when they hit somebody bare knuckle, pow, they're knocked out. And most of the fights only last 15 to 20 seconds. On bare knuckle boxing, they're knocked out like that. If you actually, there was a fighter, I don't know who he was, but he was in the undercard one time on UFC, and I just got finished saying on YouTube about this, and I was watching that a real black belt punching you in the ribs ought to break your ribs. And sure enough, the next video I watched, there was an undercard fighter whose name I forgot because it's been about 2 years ago, but he slipped the other guy's hook or jab or whatever, and he threw a left hook of his own in straight into the other guy's rib cage, and pow, it broke 2 of the other guy's ribs all the way through so that the bone was sticking out through his flesh. All right. And I paused the video and I wrote in the comments on YouTube, and I wrote, that is a real black belt. That when you punch somebody and you supposedly a black belt, it is going to injure them. It's not going to tickle them, and they're not going to be smiling looking back at you.